All right.
Kind
Um,
of busy.
yeah, busy. Okay. Well, I'm glad we were able to make it today. Um, I was planning, Paulo. You were there on Monday, right? Um,
Yes,
so you,
I was.
yeah. So you already heard this. So if you're too busy, I'm just gonna talk about the same stuff that we talked about, the Saba. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, I'll bring that up. Maybe maybe you can get a little bit extra on it.
Yeah,
All right,
no problem.
let's go to the grammar. I want to show you my new tool that I made as well. All right. So let's type this in Saba. Here we've got in Tupi we've got our nouns, right? Let me pop my little face out here. Picture in picture. Okay, there we go. So, uh, can you remind us how we make nouns in Tupi, um, Paulo?
Sorry, I was talking to my nephew. Can
Oh,
you
no
repeat the
problem.
question?
Yeah. Can you remind us how we make nouns in Tupi?
Verbs into nouns?
Yeah, or a root into a noun.
Yeah, we add a suffix aber. Yeah.
That's
And
one way, but the normal way is just to add the a, right? If it
okay,
ends in
okay.
a vowel, then it's already a noun, and if it doesn't end in a vowel, then you got to add an a.
All right.
Yeah. And so in Tupi, we have a lot of different types of nouns. We have a lot of different suffixes that we could have. Um, and so if we go into the grammar here, oh, I think I made my website tiny for some reason. You see that? Look how tiny it is. I think I just messed something up. I was working on this. Basically, so if we go to uh, the noun section, we see that we can have a root like yuka, which is tonic at the end. Yuka means to murder, and then we can have ker, which is to sleep. Ker. So if we add an a, then it becomes kera. That means a sleep, the action of sleeping. So this most basic form of a noun is like an action. It's something you're doing. Um, and so the one that I wanted to show you today, as you can see, I have a big table full of them, is what's called abba. And so this abba saba suffix is something that is used to express a circumstance of the verb. So I call it a circumstantial form. That's just my name for it. Usually in the dictionary, uh, you'll see Navajo will call it something like, um, let's see, tempo, lugar, modo, instrumento, etc. G. So if you just search in the dictionary like this, tempo, lugar, then you'll find like all of the different agas. So for example, we have ang, pronunciar, layer, proferir, to pronounce, to read, to prophesize, to declare. So if we put a aba at the end, angaba means the time or the place or the way that we are celebrating or profiting, or you know, it's some circumstance that's happening around the action rather than the action itself. And an important thing that we should think about in Tupi. Let me open the text edit here. And I think I'm actually going to have to stop sharing this and start sharing my uh, my full screen. There we go. Entire screen. Okay. So we got our trusty old text editor. Move it up to a big font. So in English, I can say I spoke. If I want to say that I'm speaking, I'm the subject, and maybe I'm having a conversation with someone else. How would I say this in English?
Spoke to.
Yeah, spoke
Always.
to, right? So we got this preposition here. Very important. We'll highlight that. Oh, maybe we won't. That looks terrible. Spoke to. We'll underline it. So spoke to Mateos, right? To Mateos. We have this clause here. So in this sense, spoke is not transitive, right? Speaking is
Yeah.
not transitive because we're not I'm not speaking you. I don't speak you. I speak to you, right?
Yeah.
The action is going to you by means of a preposition. And so it's the same in Portuguese. Eu falei lhe, right? We've got this lhe. That's a beautiful little thing about Portuguese is you have this lhe. It's the same thing as if you say falei a ele, right? Um, yeah, so we'll just not underline that, and we'll underline these. These are all the same thing, right? Um, I spoke to him. I spoke to him. I spoke to. There we go. And now in this case, in Tupi, how do you think we would say that? Do you guys remember the verb for to speak?
I don't. Let me check it here.
Since you were here on Monday, I already posted the Monday one on YouTube. We'll focus a little more on post positions now because I think that's an interesting thing to talk about. So to speak, to talk, falar. There you go, yang. Very good. So if I want to say I speak, I spoke, how do we conjugate that? You'll see that in the dictionary as well.
Uh,
Indicative mood.
yeah.
I speak.
Um,
Go
she yang.
almost.
Yang.
So if we go nyang, we look at this. Ishe anyang. That's right there.
She.
So this is if your dictionary doesn't have it enabled by default, you see this little button here. You just click on that. It'll remember it once you do it. Just make sure it's enabled so that you can take advantage of seeing the conjugations here.
Oh.
And every time you look up a verb, just read all the conjugations to yourselves. As you can see, there's 5 different modes in Tupi. There are 5 different ways of using verbs. It's probably more than that, but that's what we recognize. So indicative is our normal stuff. So we'll go back here. So what was it? It was ishe anya ink. That means I spoke. Now, if we want to say I spoke to him, how would we say that? Can you tell us, Mateus?
Em Ixupé.
Ishupé. Ishupé. So let's go ahead and search for this. What is chupé? Chupé. Okay, so it's saying chupé, POSP. That's what you'll see in the dictionary for when a word is a postposition. Because in English, right, in Portuguese, we have prepositions. That means that the word goes first, and then the kind of thing that's getting acted upon by the preposition goes afterwards. In Tupi, it's the same thing, it's just in reverse. You're going to say the thing that's getting acted on, and then afterwards you're going to say the thing. So it's just a postposition instead of a preposition because it goes after the position. Preposition before, postposition after. It all makes sense.
Like chupé is the to thing.
Yes,
The to?
exactly. So soupe is a dative preposition. It means it's when you're giving to somebody or something, right? So if I could say, and this is choupe, as you see, is an allomorphy, which means it's basically it's just a phonetic change. In Tupi, when you have an S sound that comes after an I sound, it makes a shu. It becomes chiado, becomes carioca. So it becomes Ishupe. So it would be like Mateus Supe Ishupe. Just because of the E of the pronoun, it causes it to make that sound. But whenever you see this, you can just go in the dictionary. Okay, souper. It's an allomorphy of souper. So that means if you just go search for souper instead, we should find the definition of what it is.
We can write both ways.
It's just after the I that it becomes souper. Just after the I. And it's a phonetic change. It's just something that happens as a result of the sound, just like how sometimes we say saudade and we don't say saudade, you know. It's just about the phonetics. Like the letter itself isn't changing. Just the way that we pronounce it based on the other letters that are surrounding it is what changes. So ishupe is diante de, perante, junto de, junto a. But I think more often we use it as para right here, dative. So para a in the dative sense, that is souper. So I give something to you, I'm speaking to you. This action is happening to a person. It's going to somebody. We're going to use souper.
We can use it for distances, like going to. Or no.
Maybe. I think in that sense we would use pe. But Mateus, what do you think? Can you use souper for locomotion?
I don't think so. I think in this case we would use the locative pe or maybe kote, something like that. I think super would be just a dative.
So let's try to do that. Let's try to, Paulo, you can use your dictionary on your end. Let's try to build this. So let's say I went to his house. Let's try that. Those are some basics. So to go, you can find that in the dictionary fairly quickly.
Yeah, let me just try.
You can try Bianca too. We'll see who gets there first.
To go. Ah, tá, mas tem em português.
Yeah, you have to search in Portuguese. That's the hard part. I haven't translated the dictionary yet.
Yeah, I find saw.
Yeah, that's correct. So how do we conjugate that? I went.
Let me see. Let me click on it. Maybe. I can't find the conjugation.
Oh, maybe next to the pesquisar button, you should have to enable it.
Yeah, it's enabled.
Oh, it's still not showing up. Okay. Maybe it's broken. So.
Oh.
That should be there.
Okay, I searched for the verb ir, and I found saw. Let me type saw so I can.
Do you have it, Bianca? How do we conjugate? It's just the same as we did with Yang.
Yeah. Okay, I found it. Yeah. Okay, go on, Bianca. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say my Chrome started crashing right now, so yeah, I can barely open it.
Okay, well, looking at this one, we know that Yang is the verb, and this is what we use to conjugate it. So if the verb is so, like this, so, it's like somente, so, that means to go. How would we say I go or I went? Radio silence. Yeah, go for it.
I go. Ishe aso?
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Ishe aso. I go or I went. It could be in the past too. So ishe aso. And now if we want to say his house. How do we say house in Tupi? Casa. Casa. Let's search it up here. Casa. Okay, it looks like we got oka. And it has R and S. So when we have R and S, that means that in the third person, it's going to have an S in front of it. So instead of saying ioka, right, like his house, ioka, this E becomes an S. So it just becomes soka. That means casa dele, soka. Soka, and then we will add a locomotive pe. So pe is basically means ing. It's like para, but it could be like destination. So this is specifically relating to locations is a pe. So we would put a pe here. And a strange thing about this pe, you stick it as a suffix onto the place that you're going. So it's not so much like a, I don't want to say it's a post position. It is a post position, but it's more of like see it even normalizes too, or nasalizes, so meh. So if this was a nasal thing, this would become a meh instead of a pe. And because it's an A, that turns into an U. So it becomes sokupe. That means na casa dele, or a casa dele, to the house of him or her. Ishe aso sokupe. Is that right, Mateus?
Perfect.
Perfect. Any questions about that, Bianca? You still have your hand raised. Maybe it's just...
Oh, no, sir.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the locomotive one. So that's the difference. So this one means I spoke with or to him, right? It's talking about like this action involved the other person, and they were the object, indirect object. So this one is I went to his house, and that's using the pe. And then so the thing that I wanted to show you about is so ishupe. We can think about another one like rese. So let's take a look at esse. How does it put it? So this one is very important to understand. Esse is basically like the most common complement for verbs, and it means with, com, and so it says with the sentido of companhia, levando o verbo para o plural. Interesting. So that's one possibility of rese. There's some other definitions of rese, to the respect of, or it can mean in accordance with. It's kind of abstract, so you just have to start seeing it. But it's just a pretty easy postposition. So let's use some examples here. So if I want to say I remember, this is one that I put in the chat for everyone. It's the last one I wrote that nobody saw. It was Shema Induad. Shema Induad. Shesu Rese. So let's break this down. What does ma induad mean? Ma induad.
Lembrar.
Yes, to remember something. And this is a stative verb. Usually in English, I don't know about Portuguese for you guys, but in English, I think of remembering as something that I'm doing like an action. Like, oh, I remembered him. But in Tupi, this is describing a state. Like, it's like, oh, I can be hungry, I can be happy, I can be sad, I can be remembering. So, Shema Induar, I have memory or I am remembering. Shema Induar, Shesu Rese. So, what is su?
Mother.
Yeah, mother. And so what is shesu?
Minha mãe?
Yeah, my mom.
My mother.
Exactly, my mother. Okay. So we got I remember, my mother. So what can we guess what ese means in this context?
1 second.
Rese has a lot of different meanings, but try not to search it. Just think about like, okay, I'm remembering my mom is involved. So based on your human feelings, what do you feel like maybe Rese is meaning here? I remembered my mother. Right? Because this is a transitive verb in English. In I guess in Portuguese it's not. You remember of your mom, but in English it's transitive. I remember my mother. Here
Well,
the essay is tying the chesu to the verb. Go ahead, Paulo.
sorry, I don't want to be the one that wants to be speaking every time, right? But I see here the sense of company. I would say saudade of her presence. I mean, I miss her
Yeah.
presence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's not really spaced out here. So that's the first definition is with in a sense of company. Here's a second definition to the respect of, a respeito de. Here's a third one, which means em, sentido locativo não geográfico, right? Vivo em Deus. I live in God, right? That's what this rese can give us that idea. Here's a fourth one in the sense of time, right? Rese. Putuna amore se. At some night. Inside some night. So rese can have the idea of being inside of a time. What else do we have? Na pessoa de. In the person of. That's a little bit strange, isn't it? So you can see there's a lot of different definitions of rese. Para, com o sentido de finalidade, right? It can mean porque. Rese could mean like the reason, por. So rese is really, it's this postposition which covers so many different cases that the best way to think about it is kind of like de, right? Eu gosto de você. Eu lembro de você. Eu preciso de algo. This G kind of is very like, you can use it however you want. Or a. Eu falo a ele. Eu vou a casa, right? We have this a which ties things together. So in Tupi, we're not always going to be able to, perfectly relate one idea to the other idea. We have to think about how they're used in terms of verbs. So this is one example of rese. Let's look at another example of rese. Let's do. You want to give me an example, Mateus? Let me think. So my enduar is remember. There could be also the opposite, right? Sheresarai. Sheresarai. I don't know. She celular. Let's do like that. Celular. Rese. Esarai. Let's look that up. Esarai. Esarai means to forget, right? Of something or somebody. So we can use rese here. So if I say she resarai, she celular rese, what might that mean?
I forgot my phone.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot my phone. Because, these stative verbs, one of the rules about them is they can never be transitive. So we can't forget something in Tupi, but we can forget about something, or we can forget to the respect of something, right? So the best way to think about this rese is it's just tying this idea to the verb. It's representing some sort of circumstance, right? That the verb has to take place. The circumstance of me forgetting was my cell phone. The cell phone was one of the circumstances of my forgetfulness. So I forgot my phone. Oof, tough. Let's see. Let's think of another interesting one with an essay. If we say Yan Yang em grupo.
In this what is there.
What would you say?
In this what is there.
Suarece, en de suarece,
In this so.
en de so.
Like your
Oh, en de so.
your yeah.
So we speak. Okay, yeah, that's a good one. De so. So what does so mean? We already learned that one.
Go?
Yeah, to go. And so if we say de so, right? We notice here we conjugated it like a verb. I go. Now instead we're going to use this pronoun instead of conjugating it. So what does that mean when we use this pronoun? De so.
Was it you go?
You go, right? But it's not a conjugated you go. We're talking about the noun. We're talking about it like as if it's a noun. So you're going. Your departure, we might say in English. And then nyeeng. What does this ya mean? Ya nyeeng. Ya nyeeng.
Is the third person?
No. It's the first person. So let's take a look at this chart right here. We got ishe, ende, ae, ore, yande, pe.
Yeah.
Yande. Yeah. So yande is going to be our first person plural inclusive. So it's including all of us. Whoever I'm talking to as well. That's different from ore, which is the mean girls, right? It's like you can't sit with us. We wear pink on Wednesday, not you. Right? Ore. So yanyeeng means we speak or we spoke. We speak or we spoke. Deso, your departure, dese. So in this sense, we know that this means we spoke, and we mean that this means you're leaving or your departure, you're going, you're something, and then dese. The context of this sentence could change the way that we interpret this. How would you guys interpret the dese here? Just no wrong answers.
Okay. I'd say we spoke that you're leaving. Something's leaving, is going. Something.
We spoke about your leaving or that you're leaving.
Yeah.
About. Okay, we could say that essay here means about. So we spoke about your departure. We'll say that. Bianca, you want to try? Maybe there's another way that we could think about this.
Yeah, I was thinking about as well.
About as well. Okay. How about you, Mateus?
Yeah, I think that about would be a good translation.
Yeah. About. We spoke about your leaving. This could also, depending on the time, it could be interpreted as we spoke during your departure, right? Because rese can also be used as a temporal locomotion. So we could be talking about it during your leaving, we spoke, right? So it depends on the context how we interpret it, but I think, without any context, I would definitely choose about as well. So these are different ways that you can use rese. I just want to show you a quirk about rese. Rese is pluriform, just the same as these other things are. It's a pluriform thing. So we use it in relationship with things. So if I were to just put an S here, sheresarai sese, what do you think I forgot is in this situation? How does that change things? Sese. So you see here, it was we put an S in front to indicate the third person. His. We don't know who he is. Kind of indefinite.
Wouldn't
This.
it be like I forgot about it or something like that?
Yeah. There you go. I forgot it or about it. Either one. Yeah. I forgot it or I forgot about it. That's exactly it. It's just this just makes it third person. That's all. It just makes it like it. You know, if we had already discussed what it was, then you could just say cese. You don't have to repeat che celular ese. I could say de ma induarpe de celular ese. Right? That's a question. Did you remember your cell phone? And then you could say, shere sarai sese. I forgot about it. As a response, right? Because I've already asked you what the subject was. Sese. So that's a little thing about ese. And so I guess the thing that I wanted to tie together about these postpositions is that oftentimes they're circumstances of the verb. It's more information describing what happened in the verb or something like that. And so we can use this aba suffix to describe these things. So if I want to say she ma induar she surese, I remembered my mother. We can talk about she su using aba. So we can say she su she ma induar raba or ma induasaba. We'll put it like that. And so this aba is the same thing as the rese, kind of. So what might this mean? Does anyone want to take a guess? Shesu shema induasaba. So this means that my mother. Why does it keep doing that? That's so funny. My mother is. So this is something about tupi. We don't have a verb is like ser. You just make a relationship by putting two things next to each other, and that creates like a equal sign basically. This is that. So shesu, my mother is what I remember, like that. My mother is what I remember, something like that. She ma induasaba. So we're describing what's in this position. Ma induasaba, what I remember. Then we can do the same thing here. She resarai, she celular rese. So if we want to do the same structure, we can say she celular is what? My cell phone is the thing of that I forgot, the circumstance of my forgetting.
Saraiba.
Shiresaraiba. Close. These things you just have to learn, which I put there in the grammar, but I'll show you how to look at it. So we go to the grammar, and we go to the quick start. For some reason, that's tiny. We go to nouns. And here in the circumstantial form, I gave you an example. So if it ends in a vowel and a semi-vowel like this, resarai does, which I didn't write here, but it would be easier if I did. Resarai. Resarai. When it ends in this, it gains a T, so it becomes taba. So resarai taba, like that. But if you write aba, right, it's just so you understand the concept. This is just a phonetic change, not that important. So she celular, she resarai taba. Okay? So this is a way of using only nouns to describe the same thing. She resarai, she celular dese. That's a whole verb statement. instead of using verbs, we can use nouns. She celular cheira saraitava. My cell phone is. How might you translate this?
Is what I forgot.
Yeah. Is what I forgot. Exactly. Let's try it with this one too.
I have a question about resarai
Yeah.
verb. You said it's intransitive, right?
Correct.
But in Portuguese, I would say to forget is transitive because
Really?
we forgot something.
No, you don't. You esquecer de algo, né?
Yeah, mas eu que sei, eu esqueci isso, tipo.
Mas yeah, but that's something that we do because we are native speakers and we understand the boundaries of our own language. Perhaps there would be a way. Maybe Tupi speakers in the past would have had more flexibility with deciding what's transitive and what's not, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, esquece de algo.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Maybe I'm making confusion here, but let me check it. So keep going. I will go ahead.
But yeah, this is a common thing in Portuguese where where people like in colloquial Portuguese take away these prepositions and they use it as if it was just a transitive verb, right? Like, eu utilizei o metrô. It should be eu utilizei do metrô, right? But it doesn't matter because we understand what's happening. Or eu falei, I don't know, like when we use ele instead of o. I'm blanking on examples. Eu dei pra ele. Eu ou dei, right? Or dá pra você. Well, I mean, those are grammatically fine, but there are certain verbs in colloquial Portuguese where we do just take away the de, and in the older forms they would have had like a de or an a, right? Like dá pra ele, we say dá pra ele instead of dá a ele, or dá-lhe. I don't know, things like that. But that's the thing about in Tupi is that it doesn't matter what you think it is in Portuguese or what you think it is in English. It has nothing to do with anything. You want to talk
So
Mateus?
I was just trying to make connections. So.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
sometimes it's good to make those connections to understand what the differences are because, knowing the differences is easier than knowing all of the similarities. Differences are smaller. Go ahead, Mateus.
That Ishe saw soccer example would be good, would be nice. If you use Sava.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you want to go ahead, Bianca?
There's a question, I think it's a basic question, but it's, something that came up. When we say, for example, Saruru, we could translate it as she is sad. In Portuguese, we have a difference between estar triste e ser triste.
Right.
Is there a way to differentiate between these two on Tupi?
I think that's a little bit too specific. And it wouldn't be saruru, it would actually be I aruru. So this is something important to note is that the S comes with pluriform roots and the I comes with non-pluriform roots. And there's no way of knowing which one it is. You just have to check the dictionary, unfortunately. But yeah, between ser and estar, I think there could be a way, right? Like, for example, ishe, right? She aruru. That means I am sad, and it's a stative verb. If there's ways of saying like I am sad habitually, right? Maybe you could say aruru ba e, or how would you think about that, Mateus, habitually?
There is a particle that you can use, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I
I
remember
don't
reading
remember.
about it, but I don't. This thing keeps correcting me, and I don't want it to. Ko'ud?
I think I think it's like a man, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe you can find it. Ishe Aiko.
But
Aiko is like estar. So we have estar. We don't have ser. We just use these relationships. But then we can say Ishe, Ko'ud, Aiko, Esto. I don't know. Maybe you could say Iaruru Ba'e. Something like that. Like something ish Ko'ud Aiko Aruru Ba'e. I am something that is sad right now. But I don't know. I think it's not useful to try and think of those specific distinctions between Portuguese and that. Just know that we have stative verbs and we have active verbs, and you can use like adverbs to try and talk about the difference between ser and estar being like, oh, this is something that I am right now. This is a state that I'm feeling versus this is something that I always am. Um, I think it's more useful when we use like roots that don't have vowel endings because you can add a vowel ending to talk about something else. But yeah, it's an interesting question. Go ahead, Mateus.
Thank you.
in that case, shiaruru or in any other dative verb, well, it could be translated as star or ser or even ter,
Yeah.
so that you have. So that's really open.
Yeah, it can be any of these things, and it's mostly just based on the context that you would understand these things. But you could say like, "I'm always sad," right? You could say something like that, and it could give you an idea. All right, and yeah, I'll just show you some examples here. So ishe aso sokupe. Um, in this case, we can say, so I went to his house. Where did I go? Where did I go? The place that I went to. I want to ask you, where did I go? We can say, we can call it soaba. I think it would be soaba. She soaba. The circumstance of where I went. Soka, right, is his house. So that's how would you translate this, right? This would be like the place of my going is his house. Like that. So you can see it's not just with the ese, but it's with other circumstances as well around the verb. So this sokupe is one of my shesoabas. The shokupe is a the soka, the pe is what makes it an abba, and the soka is the thing that it is, the his house, soka. And even in this example, I don't know, maybe it could be that, but a e shenye ingaba. I don't know. This is a little bit weird. I don't know if I ever see that, but you could say something like he is with whom I
The company.
spoke. He is with whom I spoke, right? Yeah, the company that I spoke with. Shinya Ingava. But I think that's a little bit of a stretch. But that's the idea behind the postpositions and also this Saba. And that's the relationship between them, is that they're representing similar concepts. All right, we got 4 minutes left. You guys want to ask any questions or anything like that? Paste
Just
this
to
into the chat.
make it clear, if I actually got it. So as that would basically be the idea of a preposition.
Can you say that again once? I cut out for a second.
Um, just to see if I got it right. As that would be like the idea of a preposition.
Yeah, essay is one of the prepositions, and it's a more general preposition. Um, it's it's something that you have to get the vibe for. But you know, if I were to try to translate it into English, I think the closest thing would be not would be by, or in Portuguese would be por, maybe, because we're describing a general circumstance. But there's more specific ones like we have souper, which specifically means if you're in doubt, use essay. Yeah, this is essay is like the catch-all preposition. Kind of like in Portuguese, I always use a. If I'm not sure which one to use, oh, do I go do I go para casa? Do I go na praia? Oh, if you're in doubt, I just use a because it's more correct in general. Eu vou a casa, eu vou a praia, vou a, right? It's more formal, even though it gets used less. So, essay is like that where um, there's different things we can say, right? So we can say like Anya Eng, Anya Eng. We can say Mateus Irunamo Tupinya Enga Rupi. We could also say like noticia news desse, right? So this whole sentence Anya Eng Mateus Irunamo Tupinya Enga Rupi news rese. All these prepositions give us a different idea about that verb. Anya Eng Mateus Irunamo. In the company of Mateus. So with Mateus, I spoke. Irunamo is in the future, but Tupinya Enga Rupi. So Tupinya Enga means the language of Tupi. And then this Rupi means in accordance with. So it means that we were speaking in Tupi, by means of Tupi. And then news rese, about the news, right? All three of the different things, Mateus, Tupinya Enga, and news, these are all she nya engaba. These are all circumstances of my speaking. Who I spoke with, what we spoke about, how we spoke. These are all nya engaba. Does that make sense?
It does.
And there's a good amount of prepositions, so we'll learn them slowly over time. But if you're not sure, just use rese. It's the most catch-all one. And so if I ask you to translate some memes in the chat, and you want to say with him or for him or about her or at this place, and you don't know which one to use, just use rese, and it'll probably make sense. Interesting. All right. Well,
All right.
Go ahead, Pablo.
No, just agreeing.
All right, sweet. Well, if you guys don't have any more questions, I will let you go. It was a wonderful class, a lot of information. So we'll probably cover this again, and I'll post the video on YouTube. The Monday class is already there too, so maybe there were some questions there, Bianca, that you didn't get in this one that maybe someone asked in that one, so it could still be useful to see it. All right. Have a great Saturday, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Thank
Thank you.